If you're working as an adjunct in higher education today, you feel frustrated, overworked, underpaid, underappreciated. You want to be noticed. You want to get pay that reflects the kind of education and experience you bring to the job. And it seems like so much of it is out of our control. It's beyond us, right? Wrong, sort of. There are ways, important ways, that we can control as adjuncts to actually have ourselves earning more per hour. You want to know how? Tap the like button and let's take a look. Hi, I'm James Callahan and this is the Do-Over Show, and I've been an adjunct instructor for over 20 years at 8 or 9 public and private colleges, universities, grad and undergrad. And I can tell you that the number one problem from talking to you and talking to everyone else in the adjunct world is the money. So we tell ourselves that we can't control the money problem, beyond our control. But there are things that we can do to manage our time, to take back control of the amount of compensation we're given, that you're offered for teaching an adjunct course. The things that are in our control. Because this is about working for pay, changing our time for money. First step is to stop over-volunteering and compensating for our not being noticed or recognized or paid, thinking that if we just give away our time for free, that somehow we'll be recognized and moved into that luxurious full-time tenured position. That is the unicorn experience, but I have to tell you, it happens once in a while. And when we hear stories about it happening, that convinces us, if it can happen to that person, it can happen to me. Yes, I got my first full-time teaching position as a visiting professor because I had started the year before working as an adjunct, teaching a class each semester because I had another job, a real job, that had a flexible schedule. So I said, sure, I'll teach that class in the afternoons on Tuesday and Thursday, and I did it. They had an unexpected opening. Somebody retired early, and they said, we don't have time, we got to hire somebody. Hey, are you interested? Right place, right time, all of that. But according to the American Federation of Teachers, how many times does that happen? Go ahead, guess. Yep. Less than 1% of the time someone working as an adjunct is moved into a full-time position. That means it's statistically negligible. It doesn't exist. That is, it's a rarity, so rare, but when we hear about it happening, when I tell you that it happened to me, you're like, I can do that too. It could happen to me. The problem is, it doesn't. And that means that our time, your time, is better invested elsewhere in 2 ways. If you want to make more money teaching as an adjunct, in the near term, you're not going to get a bump from your current institution. But if you live in an area with more than one college or university, then you have an opportunity, if you work as an adjunct, to leverage that to go to another school nearby and say, hey, I work as an adjunct over here. Do you have any openings over there? What that does, it tells them, first of all, you're willing to work as an adjunct, because not all are. And secondly, that you can be trusted to work as an adjunct. And all they want at that point is they're not going to hire you because of the great conference paper you did 6 years ago and turned into a peer-reviewed article. They're going to hire you because you can fill a problem for them. They have a spot open, they need somebody to teach it. Are you willing to do it for this amount of money? I lived for about a year in Dubuque, Iowa, in eastern Iowa on the Mississippi River, and I can tell you that even though it was a very small town when I lived there, they had six different colleges and universities and grad schools in the area within a 15-minute drive. And I know people that work at 2 or 3 of those colleges or universities in a small place like Dubuque, Iowa, and they work as adjuncts. And if your current gig as an adjunct has a limit, and most do, on how many hours, how many courses you can teach as an adjunct. The university where I work at now says 3. So guess how many courses I teach each year? 3. They can only ask me to teach 3. I could only want to teach 3. Used to be more, but they limit it to 3. That means I have to go elsewhere if I want to do more work as an adjunct. So if you're already teaching at a college or university today, that is a significant leg up on those that are just starting off or breaking into the field. And that means that you can leverage that to your advantage. And again, according to the American Federation of Teachers, those that spend most of their time, they consider their primary employment teaching as an adjunct, work at 2 to 3 different colleges or universities near them. The next important thing in taking control of how much you actually make as an adjunct is time management. And that's not on the academic dean or the university or the trustees. That's on us. And this is where we really begin to control how much time we actually invest in a course with a fixed rate of return for us, that dollar amount. So every time we do prep, every time we actually teach in a class, all the time we have for grading, the more time we do those things, the less we're going to be paid per hour. And by the way, you don't work an hourly compensated job thinking, well, I'm just going to volunteer extra time because I want the boss to look at me. You're going to clock in and clock out and get paid for the amount of time you actually spend doing the job. So the best advice is to stop volunteering and giving away your time, giving away the opportunity that you have. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, I don't have another job anyway, so kicking in a little extra time or over-preparing or re-preparing for a course and a repeat, well, I'm going to do it anyway, so I might as well do a really good job. Stop volunteering to give your work away for free. Stop doing the school a favor by serving on a committee or attending lectures. So look at what you're required to do according to the faculty handbook or the adjunct faculty handbook if you have one, and read your contract and see what are they actually expecting of me. And by the way, even though they don't stipulate it, some chairs in certain departments, you know who they are going to expect you to do all those extra things that will actually reduce your per hour compensation over a semester. Office hours, lectures, special events, graduation. You know that some schools require adjuncts to show up for graduation? Yeah, they just want to fill those front rows with people with the fancy robes, with the things on their arms, and yeah, you know what I mean. And just this week, a student lingered after class to ask me some advice about their career and about grad school options. And yes, it was me just volunteering my time, giving it away to have a polite adult conversation with someone because I really did want to help this person. But that is not something I'm getting paid for. It happens because I'm getting paid to do something else, but then it's just volunteer time that I gave away. I made the choice to do that. The university didn't make me do that. I made that choice, so that's on me. Okay, now let's look at the numbers that proves where all this works out, and that is if you take the average 4-hour semester course and the average compensation across the United States of about $3,000, and you spend, say, 10 hours a week in prep, in grading, and actually teaching the class over 15 weeks plus 1 week for an exam, so that's 160 hours you invest in a semester course. Now you take $3,000 and divide it by 160 hours, and how much are you getting paid per hour for that course? $18.75. Now if you're one of those overly volunteering, overly compensating adjuncts, and you just raise the amount of time you spend prepping and grading and teaching that course by 5 hours, 15 hours over 16 weeks is 240 hours you're going to invest in that course. Divide 3,000 by 240, and you have reduced your pay to $12.50 an hour. But if you can cut the amount of time you spend prepping, teaching, and grading for that 16-week semester course, that means you're only investing 80 hours. And if you divide $3,000 by that 80 hours of investment you're making, you have doubled your pay. Yep, you've doubled it to $37.50 an hour. And the easiest way to do this is by repeating a course. Yeah, repeat the course and then stop. Don't continue to over-prepare, thinking, I'm just going to start from scratch. I know some of you work in courses where you get a new course with syllabi for each semester and you have to do a new prep. I get it. But for most people that teach as an adjunct, you know who you are. You over-prepare. And when you do, you cut your pay lower and lower and lower, your compensation per hour. And by the way, that's time that if you actually wanted to invest it in your academic career, you could be doing researching and writing. You could be developing. Instead of pouring your time and reducing the amount of per hour compensation you get, you might actually make an investment in you and in your academic future, something that you can publish, something that you can share, a lot of ways to do it. And all of these things are an investment in you that can actually increase your value on the job market. It really is up to you because you're trading your time for money to do better time management and to give yourself a chance to make more money per hour. These are things within our control as adjuncts. Don't sacrifice the little that we can actually control. Yes, and by all means, do right by your students. Do right by your department chair and the requirements. Do right by your own academic training and your own pride. Yes, but don't think that being overly awesome and over-preparing means that it will translate into being an overly awesome adjunct or overly awesomely compensated. Overly awesomely? I like that. And thanks for being part of the Do-Over Show. Please, could you tap the like button because it really helps an adjunct like me. And while you're down there, how about you subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. I'm so glad you found me and I found you. Thanks.